This is the tale of a legendary sniper who can eliminate a target from several kilometers away, even with his eyes covered. Yet before all this, he was just a simple math teacher. He despised war and weapons. But one day, something happened that transformed him from a gentle schoolteacher into a merciless marksman. The story starts in a small Ukrainian village where we see a modest house. A couple lives there, enjoying a peaceful life in Ukraine. The man's name is Maka, and his wife's name is Nastya. Nastya is an artist who carves wooden sculptures. Mykola is a school teacher who teaches math to kids in a nearby school. He works at that school and is a very good teacher. All the children like him except one boy named Avon. Avon is extremely rude. He constantly harasses his teacher Mykola at school. Avon comes from a wealthy family, while Mola is poor. Because of this, Avon regularly mocks Maka's appearance and clothes. He wants Maka to lose patience, and hit him so he can complain and get Maka fired. But Maka is a calm, patient man. Mykola ignores his insults and stays content with his life. Because he has no TV or other electronics at home, Mykola rarely hears any world news. One day at school, he hears on the TV that Russia has attacked Ukraine, killing many soldiers and seizing several Ukrainian regions. That evening, when Mykola returns home, he learns that his wife is pregnant. He is overjoyed because Mykola is going to become a father. The two of them celebrate this news together. The next day, Mola says goodbye to his wife and leaves on his bicycle to go teach at the school. On the road, he notices two soldiers smoking and wearing unfamiliar uniforms. Their outfits are nothing like those of Ukrainian troops, which makes him uneasy. Still, Maka assumes the government must have changed the soldiers' uniforms. So he shrugs it off and quickly reaches the school. When he steps inside, he finds the entire building deserted. Not a single student has come. This disturbs him. Then he sees a news report on TV announcing that Russian forces have crossed into Ukraine to occupy it. He immediately understands that the soldiers he saw earlier were Russian. Worried for his wife, who is alone at home, he jumps back on his bicycle and rushes toward the house. But he's already too late. When Maka arrives, he sees the two soldiers savagely beating his wife. Mykola tries to defend her, but they start beating him as well. He pleads, "Please don't hit me. My wife is pregnant." The soldiers ignore him and continue attacking both of them. After a while, one of the Russians searches through Mykola's home. Finding nothing of value, he grows enraged, sets the house on fire, and prepares to leave. Seeing her burning home, Nastya snaps. She grabs a stone and begins striking the soldiers. One of them reacts by shooting her. Nastya dies instantly. It feels as if the ground disappears beneath Maka's feet, as he watches his wife die in front of him. He runs to her, cradles her in his arms, and breaks down in tears. A few hours later, two Ukrainian soldiers arrive. When they see Mykola's dead wife, they are deeply saddened. They place a comforting hand on his shoulder and tell him to stay strong. Then they start digging a grave for Nastya. When the grave is ready, they tell Maka to bury his wife there. After losing his wife, Mola is utterly shattered. He has no one left. Those Russian soldiers not only murdered his wife, they ruined his entire life. They burned his house and killed his unborn child. Now Mykola is consumed by vengeance. He decides he will track down and kill the Russian soldier who shot his wife. Whatever it takes. The only way to get revenge is to enlist in the Ukrainian army. So he begs the two soldiers to take him. "Please take me with you. I want to join the Ukrainian army." The soldiers agree and drive Mykola to their military base. Before leaving, Mykola picks up a small wooden statue carved by his wife, the one she made to protect him. When they arrive at the base, their commanding officer is furious at the sight of Mola. He refuses to enlist him, suspecting Mikola might be an enemy spy. But once the officer gets the full story about Mikola from the two soldiers, Mikola explains everything himself, how Russian troops brutally killed his wife, an unborn child, and burned down his home. He says, "I have no reason left to live. I only want to free my country by killing those Russian soldiers." The officer is moved by his words and agrees to recruit Mikola as a soldier. The next day, Maka's basic training begins. Since he is just a regular civilian, he struggles a lot. He has spent his life studying mathematics and knows nothing about firearms. When the recruits practice assembling their rifles, Mola is far slower than the others and finishes last. Seeing this, the officer thinks Mikola will never become an effective soldier. But Mikola refuses to give up and focuses even harder on his training. One night during training, Maka tells his superior not to call him by his real name anymore, and says his codename is Raven. When the others hear this, they burst out laughing. The officer explains that codenames must be earned. Only soldiers who achieve great things for their country deserve them. Mikola doesn't take offense and instead pushes himself even more. He practices late into the night while the others sleep. One day, the officer announces they are short on snipers and need more to fight the Russians. He asks who wants to volunteer. Several soldiers step forward, and Mola stands with them, because he also wants to become a sniper. When the others see Mikola volunteering, they laugh again. The officer tells him he isn't ready, since he still struggles just assembling and disassembling a rifle. Maka insists he can become an excellent sniper and only needs a chance to prove it. To test him, the officer challenges Mikola to assemble the rifle in 20 seconds. To show what he can do, Mikola blindfolds himself, takes the rifle apart, then reassembles it. He finishes in just 18 seconds. Everyone is stunned by Maka's speed and precision. The same men who mocked him minutes ago now applaud him. The officer is impressed too, and accepts Mola into sniper training. During sniper training, Maka is issued an old rifle model while the others receive modern guns. Mikola asks for a newer weapon, but the officer tells him he must earn that privilege. With no choice, Mikola keeps the old rifle and continues practicing. The officer teaches them that, no matter what happens, a sniper must not move even an inch from his position and must keep his sights locked on the target. To drill this into them, he fires shots close to the trainees, dismissing any sniper who flinches or shifts. When Maka's turn comes, he doesn't move at all and keeps his aim steady. He passes this test and continues. In the following exercise, the snipers are shown their targets only once before being blindfolded. Then they must guess and shoot where the target is. Some soldiers manage to pass, but when Maka's turn comes, his shot lands slightly off, and he fails because his old rifle is too inaccurate. Still, everyone understands that with a modern weapon, Mikola would have nailed it. The next drill is even tougher. They must hit their targets in the glow of flares, in total darkness. The officer fires a flare into the sky, and everyone aims, but no one hits the target. All the others have already spent their rounds, but Mola holds his fire. He understands that aiming directly in the flare's glare is useless. When the officer launches another flare, instead of shooting right away, he uses its light to calculate the distance to the target. Using his math skills, he adjusts and fires a perfectly accurate shot. The officer and the soldiers are stunned. No one has ever completed this exercise before, only Maka. Impressed, the officer finally gives him the codename he wanted, Raven. Time passes, and Mikola keeps training with full determination. At last, the day comes when the training results are announced. The colonel salutes Maka and tells him he has passed. A few days later, the colonel visits Mikola again and tells him to pack his gear. They're heading out on a mission. They've received intel that Russian forces have seized a checkpoint, and from here, the real story begins. Soon, Mikola's unit reaches the area and takes up positions. Just as they're about to open fire on the Russian soldiers, a vehicle approaches the checkpoint. The colonel instantly orders everyone to hold fire. On the other side, the Russian troops stop the car and force the passengers out. They inspect their passports and search the vehicle. When everything seems fine, they let the travelers leave but keep their passports. When the people ask for them back, the Russians savagely beat them. Seeing this, the colonel gives the order to shoot. In one coordinated volley, all the snipers fire and drop their targets. Their first mission is a success. After returning to base, Maka notices many of his comrades are missing. Worried, he asks, "Where are the rest of my comrades?" He's told the others were dispatched on a separate mission. The next day, Mullah receives word that many of his comrades were killed on that operation. All of them were taken out by a Russian sniper. That sniper's name is Siri, and he's considered the best shooter in Russia. A few days later, Mykola heads out on another mission with his team. When they arrive, they plant mines around the area and set up their positions. After some time, a group of Russian soldiers appears, and among them is Avon, the same former student who used to torment Maka in class. Now An has joined the Russian army. When the colonel gives the order to fire, Mola hesitates. He doesn't want to kill someone he once taught. But then Mykola forces himself to push those feelings aside and shoots at the nearby landmines instead. The explosion is massive, wiping out all the Russian soldiers, including Avon. After the dust settles, the colonel angrily confronts Mykola. "What were you thinking when I gave the order to shoot?" Mykola explains, "One of my students was among those Russian soldiers. I didn't want to kill him." The colonel tells Mola he must not grieve for Avon. He says, "Out here, he wasn't your student. He was your enemy. He chose to join the Russian army. You don't need to feel guilty." When the mission ends, they return to base. The colonel has full confidence in Mykola and spends a lot of time with him. One day the colonel shows Mykola a family photo and explains he has 3 family members. He says, "My 2 daughters don't know their father is a soldier. I told them I run a business. Even my wife hasn't told them the truth." Hearing this, Mykola tells his own story about how Russian troops brutally murdered his wife. He becomes emotional, and the colonel comforts him. The next morning, they depart for another mission. This operation is critical because they've learned that a group of Russian soldiers will be passing through a certain route. The colonel and Mykola hurry to the position and set up. After a while, they spot 2 Russian soldiers waiting for their unit. Maka suddenly recognizes one of them as the man who shot his wife, and that man is lined up perfectly in his scope. Maka asks for permission to fire, but the colonel refuses. Anger surges in Maka. He joined the army for this exact moment, to avenge his wife's death, and now his target is standing right there. He asks again, but the colonel still says no. Finally, Mykola loses control and pulls the trigger. The soldier drops dead instantly. Now the Russians know exactly where the shot came from. The colonel turns to Mykola and yells, "What have you done?" To make matters worse, Russia's deadliest sniper, Siri, is also on the field, and now he knows their position. Realizing Siri must be nearby, the colonel starts scanning for him. Before he can locate him, Siri lands a perfect headshot and kills the colonel on the spot. Now Mola understands the magnitude of his mistake. The colonel has died because of his impulsive shot. Mola realizes the Russians have fully exposed their position. On the other side, Russian troops begin bombarding Maka's team with heavy fire and explosives. As the situation gets worse, Maka decides they must fall back. He hoists the colonel's body and drags it away from the danger zone. Eventually, he escapes enemy lines and reaches base. He is crushed by the colonel's death and blames himself completely. He swears he will kill Siri and avenge the colonel. Not long after, Mykola receives intel about 2 Russian snipers, so he heads out on another mission immediately. He reaches the location, sets up, and waits. Soon he takes out one of the snipers. While he's doing this, the second sniper shoots Mykola in the arm. Even wounded, he refuses to quit, and manages to kill the second sniper too. Severely injured, he retreats to a hidden base to rest and recover. While he's there, he gets a call from the army major informing him they've confirmed the identity of the sniper who killed the colonel. Mola returns to base, and the major briefs the whole unit. He explains that the sniper's name is Siri, and that he is the top marksman in Russia. Siri's aim, they say, has never been off. He is rumored to have killed 6 of Ukraine's finest snipers. The major stresses that they cannot underestimate him. He goes on to explain that Siri records his kills and uploads the videos online to break Ukrainian morale. He describes Siri as a sniper who rarely changes position, preferring to hunt every target from one fixed spot. With this information in hand, they form a plan. 2 teams will advance on Siri's location. The first unit will engage Russian forces head-on, while the second hits them from the rear. In the chaos, Mykola will slip into the building and eliminate Siri. Once the plan is set, they move out. When they arrive, all the snipers set up their scopes and prepare to fire. At the same time, Mola quietly infiltrates the building. He finds 2 Russian soldiers talking and kills them on the spot, then moves deeper inside. According to the plan, Maka gives his team the signal. As soon as they receive it, the Ukrainian snipers open fire and mow down the Russian troops outside. Meanwhile, Siri notices that none of his men are checking in. Sensing something is wrong, he heads up to the rooftop. There is supposed to be a Russian sniper posted there, but when Siri arrives, he finds the man already dead. Panic rises in Siri's chest as he realizes Ukrainian forces have surrounded him. He radios his base for reinforcements, but they tell him it will take about 10 minutes to send help. Hearing this, Siri rushes back to his firing position and starts scanning for Ukrainian soldiers. Then he spots a small statue sitting on the table, a statue Mola placed there, carved by Maka's wife. Before Siri can react, Mola rushes him and kills him with a knife. The struggle makes noise, and another sniper inside the building becomes alert. Before that man can respond, Mola throws a grenade near him, and the blast kills him instantly. A short time later, the backup team Siri had called arrives at the building, unaware he's already dead. When they try to contact him, Mykola answers the radio and tells them they are all going to die. He then shoots the truck driver. The gunshot throws the Russians into confusion, and they scramble out of the vehicle. They have no idea Ukrainian snipers are already lying in wait. The Ukrainians open fire and systematically cut them down. A few days after this mission, Mykola visits his wife's grave. He feels he has finally kept his promise to her. He has killed those responsible for her death and for the colonel's. There, Nicholas vows to keep serving his country until his final breath. With that oath, he turns and walks away, and the film comes to an end. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.